All right. I want to welcome everyone. I would like to call tonight's meeting of the Monroe County Council to order for Tuesday, June 25th. We're here in the Nat U Hill meeting room and here in the Monroe County Courthouse. I do want to note, just for the official record, that we've got in this council room, Councilor Iverson, Councilor Crossley, Councilor Wiltz, Councilor Munson, and Councilor Hawk. Councilor McKim is not in attendance. I'd ask per our agenda, to everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just want to note on the record that Monroe County has experienced a pretty hard-hitting storm. A lot of us were in kind of a meeting during the previous, when it hit, so we're still learning kind of word of mouth about its extent. For many people, this means power outages. You hear some alarms now. We've heard that pretty consistently. And with that, I just want to note, of course, this council, as soon as we know more, is posed to support in any way we can the families of this community and anything they might need to be made whole with all of this as we figure it out. Our thoughts are certainly with all of our first responders, some of which you just heard, across this community as they respond to it. And that also includes our highway folks who go out anytime, day or night, to help with road closures, clearances, flooding water, and all that. We hope that all of those individuals are safe. We're certainly thinking of every single one of them. So with that, we're going to keep moving in our meeting. It's very warm in this room, and we'll just bear with it as we will. Just for anyone in the public, there's water for our water fountain. If you need it, please take care of yourself in this process. We're going to move to adoption of agenda. Does any counselor have anything they wish to amend on tonight's agenda? All right, so seeing none, I think our agenda stands as approved. We're now going to move to public comment. And this is public comment for items that are not on the agenda. There will be a time limit of 3 minutes per speaker for those items not on the agenda. And if we have anyone that wishes to make a comment, here in the Nat U Hill, you'll come forward to our podium. We ask that you state your name just for the record. And then on Teams, if we've got folks, they can raise their hand. We will recognize them and we'll just work through our list. All right, so I invite folks to come forward to the Nat U Hill. There is a 3-minute limit on your comments that we will just note and keep track of. Come on forward. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi there. My name is Sam Holdwin. I have recorded my comment, so I'm going to play that. And hopefully you can hear it.
This is a transmission from the year 2044. We are happy to report that we are now inhabiting the carceral paradise you, our forerunners, envisioned for us. The North Park jail complex has now grown large enough to hold any of us callous enough to be jobless, homeless, or in mental health crisis in its loving embrace. And those unfortunate enough to remain on the outside are free to report daily for sobriety testing, life skills coaching at their own cost, and patronizing advice from people who have never been in their shoes. Fortunately, you invested next to nothing in permanent supportive housing, affordable mental health care, and anti-poverty programs, so now we have even fewer options outside of jail than y'all did. And all that treatment in jail, it's been great. Thankfully, I've never actually had an opportunity to do more than survive however I can on the streets. But I just love learning about how everything is my fault. And if only I thought the correct way and worked harder, I wouldn't be so poor. And our taxes are so high to keep the police happy, I've never really had to worry about savings, which is good because I'll admit I was a little out of focus being cut off from my meds and all during that budgeting class. Anyways, just wanted to give you a big thank you from the future. That was a real dicey moment back then. I mean, what would have happened if you hadn't given all our money to those companies to build a mega jail?
Thank you.
The participants.
I have a handout for the council before I begin.
Oh, it's okay. I have plenty.
I have plenty. Me, Cole Siegel. Good evening, distinguished county officials. My name is Roy Truffwood. I'm the CEO of RQADL Elevatus here in 2044. The jail architectural firm. Nice to meet you all. I remember your predecessors with great fondness. They were a bunch of great people. I particularly remember your county commissioners. They were a hoot. They claimed publicly to be against mass incarceration. They asked us to design a jail that had natural light, bright colored paint on the walls, even a garden. We laughed about that for a long time. Because when we said the folks in the jail would actually never go outside, they were fine with that. Yeah, never going outside does make people go psychotic particularly quickly, but whatever, it was probably their fault for some reason. Another joke we shared was when we pretended you needed to build a jail on a single floor. When every city in the country has a multi-floor jail, that was a gas. Yeah, thanks to those three commissioners. What were their names? They were great for me. And definitely for RQADL Elevatus. What, you don't recognize my company name? Well, back before the merger, we were RQAW, DLZ, and Elevatus. But really, we always worked together anyway. Maybe in one county, one company would do the jail study, and another would build the jail. Then in another county, we'd switch it up. We were one hand washing the other, and boy, did we clean up. Whichever of us did the feasibility study made sure not to recommend a smaller jail, and of course, we never recommended not building a jail. Where would that have gotten us? Of course, I also got where I am because I'm smart. I drew those jail population projection graphs as if jail numbers always go up. They do, because when you have the capacity, you fill it. I was worried when your jail numbers went down during COVID with no increase in crime, but it was okay. You all ignored that. Phew. Anyway, I just wanted to give you all a shout out for listening to me and my homies in RQADL Elevatus rather than experts who told you to look at bail requirements, case processing times, diversion options, and sentencing mandates. Or the criminal justice professor at your local uni, oh yeah, Miriam Northcutt Barnard, who had all those recommendations for your judges that would have reduced your jail population, which you all disregarded so conveniently for me. Or all the citizens in your county who objected to being taxed through the wazoo for the new jail. Yeah, I was particularly glad you paid me instead of the social services that would have kept people out of jail. Now, where would I have been if you'd done that? Out of a job, I guess, along with my brother and my cousin and my niece. We all worked for one piece or another of our QADL Elevatus. Instead, we're all fat and happy now. Thanks.
We have a speaker on Teams. I'm going to recognize, looks like Josie Everett, if we could get them set up, TSD.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Perfect. All right, so for the record, my name is Joseph Everett. And hello, everybody. Thanks for letting me tell you a little bit about myself tonight. I'm a bus driver with the evolved Monroe County Correctional Transportation Service, and I love my job. I get overtime pay a couple times a week and weekend hours whenever I want them, since they gotta have pickups all night long and 24/7. And the best part about it is my actual official title is Police Officer of Transit. Hoot! And I get to carry a real live gun. Couldn't do that when I worked as a public school bus driver, eh? I shouldn't talk too much about that job because I get sad when I think about losing it. I had to leave that job because they never paid us enough. Anyway, the school is really strained, what with all the kids going to juvie, but hey, that's where the funding was, so what can you do? At least now I get to see some of my kids who used to be on my school bus whenever they get out of jail. I do wish I had a chance to drive them somewhere else, but the government decided to fund their jail stays, not their after-school programs, mental health support, trade schools, or college tuition. Not to be tragic, but when I was a school bus driver, I had good ideas. For years, the school bus process was in disarray. We had all these ideas about what we could do, so much more than take kids to school. We dreamed of a youth transit system in Bloomington that could transport kids to extracurricular activities, to partner with the Y and the sports teams and arts programs, the library, but no one wanted to hear about that. But like I said, you gotta make decisions. Keeping the town, quote unquote, safe is definitely way more important than educating our youth. When I lost my job working in the school, I was so worried and tried to gig with Uber for a minute, but boy, was that a bust. Get it? Bus? Those 3 years when Uber and Lyft had the contract were really bad for me and my family. It's a shame we couldn't get food stamps because of the cuts, but you gotta make decisions. I don't blame you for valuing safety over education, except that the new jail never made us any more safe. But anyway, the Uber Lyft idea, what a catastrophe. Remember all the road closures because of the lines of people walking along the highway trying to get to and from town? Nobody could make it to their probation meetings, but they sure had no problem keeping the jail full, so they created Hoot! Whee! So I didn't get to keep my job with the school district, but I did get hired by the county. I may not have been your #1 choice, but at least I'm your #2. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think we also have Barbara on Teams, and then I'll go back to the room. Sorry for the jumping back and forth. Barbara, you are next.
Can you hear me?
We can.
All right. Greetings. I'm speaking on behalf of those unfortunate enough to have been arrested some 20 years ago when the old jail was barely functional. We, the non-criminal criminals, the not quite criminals, and the criminalized criminals needed this mega jail. I'm so proud to be part of a community that is so liberally opens its cages to its own members. It's a dangerous world out there, and you need to lock us up. A lot of us. You proved that if you build it, you can fill it. No one need be excluded. We are, after all, a safe and civil city. Overcrowding our jails with and without crimes is something to brag about. Apparently, it's been pretty easy to get people into jail. After all, it only took the state police, armed snipers, AK-47s, helicopters, batons, drones, an available Bearcat, and an IU bus, no poot at that time, to drop and drag me and my fellow protesters to the ground and through the jail doors. How else could I have gotten my 64-year-old body so bruised and traumatized for such a small price tag? I'm sure that get them to jail machinery is even more effective now. Millions well spent on weapons to keep Bloomington safe from the likes of me. Good on you. And these mega facilities, they're on a whole new level. The walls literally have eyes and ears with enhanced surveillance equipment. The officers who were able to watch me pee would now be able to detect its color and odor. Nothing like being peeped on in the name of safety. The jailers could look in on us at any time they wanted. Surveillance was there to keep us safe. From whom? That's anybody's guess. Jailers controlled their contact with us. One of them threatened to keep my fellow protester overnight, proposing that male officers throw her into the shower because she refused to provide her social security number. I think she was safer inside the caged walls with us. The walls didn't lie, threaten, or treat us inhumanely. Here was your brilliance. You knew what we needed most of all were more walls. Those walls made us safer and more civil, right? With all the watching they seem to do, I wrongly assumed that jailers must have sophisticated identity verification capabilities. Alas, jailers said they couldn't even confirm my identity without my social security number. Pitiful, really. Even with my driver's license, my name, and my address, they kept insisting on getting that federally protected number. I'm glad this new venture improves the city's ability to verify who I am. Knowing that you can drag up intel on me at any time certainly makes me feel a lot safer. Bloomington, a safe and civil city, now even more. Can you think of a better use of community money?
Thank you. And we'll return to the Nat U Hill room. Come on forward. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Evie Barbeau, but today my name is Miss Help Me Help You. I'm a licensed social worker. I currently work in the jail, like the majority of Bloomington residents. As you know, in Bloomington, you're in jail in one way or another. Back in 2024, we social workers were underfunded and overworked. All the real funding was going to organizations linked to the jail anyways. Plus, the jail was already functioning as the largest mental health facility in the county. Since we're still short on funding to support all of the services you had in mind, I get to wear many hats, from therapist to substance use coordinator to crisis intervention specialist. I even get to run activities. It's quite exciting. So, I wanted to share some of the wins from the inside. First, sunburn cases are down by 100%. That's right, 0 inmates are getting sunburnt. In the past, heat-related illnesses were a major issue for people using our services. But now that we've fully criminalized houselessness, they're inside all the time, protected from those harmful UV rays. Second, I've been really able to connect with the same clients over and over and over again. While clients are usually only in jail for a few days, they inevitably come back, especially because of regularly missing their mandatory probation, court, therapy, wellness, and drug test check-ins. It's like a little community in there. Speaking of community, we've been able to implement some great DEI training in the jail to help make sure jail is a safe and welcoming environment for everyone. In the past, the jail population was disproportionately Black, but now the folks coming through the jail are more diverse than ever. Different ages, races, languages. That's what I call a win. Lastly, the food is pretty good. As you know, anyone who's convicted of felony drug violations has limited eligibility for SNAP or TANF. So people actually have more regular access to food while in the jail than out. So keep up the good work. I see no need to seriously invest in supportive community-based care in this town, like permanent supportive housing, harm reduction, or long-term treatment facilities, especially if it isn't connected to the jail. After all, we can always just make the jail bigger. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on forward to the Nat U Hill and state your name.
Hi, my name is Maggie McLaughlin. Good afternoon, esteemed council members of 2024. My name is Anna Nemus, and I'm here to share from you the bright future that your investment in a bigger jail has brought us. You see, Back in 2025, I was one of the fortunate ones arrested because of drug criminalization. At first, I was devastated. They deemed me a repeat offender, so it was worse that time than ever before. My sponsor tells me that relapse is proven to be part of the path of recovery for most people, but for some reason that doesn't really seem to have been written into the law. Losing my freedom, my daughter, and my dignity sure was tough. But now I see it was all for the best. You know, being locked in a cell really gave me the discipline I needed. I didn't get to do the whole treatment without being in prison thing, but I can't take it for granted. I was given a nice little cell where I could think about what I'd done. Remember when we were kids and our parents put us in timeout? We shaped right up after that, right? The criminal record I earned was the cherry on top. It made sure I couldn't get a job or housing, which really helped me focus on what's important in life: survival. And the child custody battles? Oh, those were just delightful. Nothing motivates a mother to get sober like the constant threat of never seeing her child again. It's a shame I didn't have access to treatment or support services that could have helped me stay with my daughter in the first place. But hey, the fear and despair were character building, and my daughter has a great PTSD specialist now. She doesn't scream or hyperventilate whenever strangers approach us anymore. My mandated substance use counselor and parole officers were so proud of me. They say the experience made me stronger. And who am I to argue? Sure, I had to navigate homelessness, unemployment, the judgment of my community, being cut off from my family, and my daughter being traumatized by the state. But it was all worth it to become the person I am today. A woman with a tarnished past and limited future prospects. I'm sorry, I mean a sober woman with a tarnished past and limited future prospects. So thank you, City Council of 2024. Thank you for building that bigger jail. Thank you for investing your dollars into solutions that really work. I can attest to how the jail is the best way to address homelessness, drug abuse, and mental health crises. Don't you think? Maybe there would have been a better way. Maybe investing in treatment, housing, and mental health services could have helped me without destroying my life in the process. But we'll never know, will we? I at least got the second best option, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Denny Weiss. Hey everybody, I'm talking to you from behind the bars, bringing you a perspective from the pride of the county, the beautiful modern Monroe County mega jail. The tech here is amazing. I can virtually ether drone project myself into this county council meeting without even leaving my cell, and from the future. I can truly tell that you all spent $200 million on this place. Sometimes I like to wonder what could have been done with that money, but hey, you make the decisions. Still, I wonder sometimes about permanent supportive housing, for one. You could have built homes for people instead of throwing them in here for being homeless. We could have had a decent place to stay and build a life with all that money. Occasionally, I wonder about mental health care, too. Real affordable treatment. Imagine having access to proper therapy and meds instead of getting tossed in here every time you have a breakdown. Yeah, and maybe actual substance use support, harm reduction programs. Instead of criminalizing addiction, you could have helped us. I couldn't pay for my methadone to keep me from getting sick, so I had to use, and that's what got me thrown in here in the first place. But hey, instead, you built this. Easier to just lock everyone up like animals rather than treat them like people who just needed a bit of support. And now we're stuck in this cycle, in and out, in and out. It's like you designed it to keep us in here. Now, I get that you're all responsible fiduciaries of the county, and that's fancy talk for it's all about the money. I get that the county gets tens of thousands of dollars per inmate in here. Keep the police happy, keep the jail full, but hey, at least you all built us a nice new place to rot in. I also totally get that you didn't like people telling you all what to do, like experts, social workers, professors, even some government officials. They all said that they had better ideas, but who wants to listen to better ideas? Who wants reform probation, investment in schools, providing after-school programs, childcare, all those things that keep people out of the trouble in the first place? I do gotta say though, I do miss my kids, and my mom misses me. But hey, no use crying over spilt milk, right? There's no mold in here at least, and the surveillance tech is fantastic. And I've always looked great in orange. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. I'm Officer Empathy, but you can call me Officer M.
Excuse me.
yeah.
Excuse me. You need to state your real name first, please.
Okay, Annalise Kane. So I'll be brief because it wouldn't feel right to stay away from my beat too long, but I just want to applaud our friends back in the 2020s for being such innovators. You see, I'm part of what we refer to as the CTC community, the counselor turned cop community. Back in 2024, I was working as a counselor, and it was taking a real toll on me. Not because of the administration or anything like that, but my clients, they were just such whiners. It was never just one thing with them. It was always, I need a permanent place to stay, and I can't get a hold of my case manager, and I can't afford my methadone. I was like, pick a lane, you know? I wanted to help people, but the thing is, most people don't know how to receive help. They're bad at it. They don't know how to make me feel like I'm helping them good enough, you know? They lacked all the focus needed to effectively receive my help. As a counselor, I could only encourage people, but as a cop, I can force them to take the help that they need. Like the other day, this real fat lady was screaming her head off down at the park, a classic mental health breakdown. I had a quick 30-second session with her, diagnosed her with schizophrenia, and I drove her right down to the jail where she can get the help she needs. Turned out, she was in labor. She had a baby in custody. I even named the baby after myself, put it right on the birth certificate. She couldn't really use the pen that well with all the restraints. After all that, she was quiet as a mouse. It can be hard to see people leave the jail. You develop such relationships, but fate has a funny way of bringing us back to each other. Whether it's from regularly missing their mandatory probation, court, therapy, wellness, and drug test check-ins, we're always happy to welcome people back with open arms. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make public comment, please come forward in the Nat U Hill room.
Hello, my name is Sarah Lynn Gershon. Moo, good evening. I hope you won't be cowed by my appearance today. Really, I'm not scary. I just wanted to muse a bit on my old homeland, the North Point Farm that you all built your county jail on back in the 2020s. It used to be so very pastoral, very pretty. All the environmentalists were up in arms that you were going to build a jail on it. Pshaw! I grew up on North Point. So did my mom and my dad and their moms and their dads. There's some crazy shit in that water. That's why the land never became housing for your kind, humans. I mean, something has to explain why we all have two tails and why I can talk. Of course, since they built the jail on my family's fields, we don't live there anymore. There are no cows, very few birds. There are rats, though. Oh yeah, plenty of rats. I myself didn't care that my family had to move when they built the jail there. I mean, given that I talk like a human, it's a moot point. Also, that field floods every year. Boy, is that expensive for the county. In fact, I was happy. I was all over the moon to get the windfall they gave all of us cows, especially the ones with the PCB influenced evolution. They bought us out to keep us quiet about the hazardous chemicals there. What they gave us was just a fraction of the $200 million that eventually they spent on the boondoggle. But still, for us cows, it was a lot of moolah. Not nearly as much, though, as they spent settling lawsuits based on the cancers and mold disease the jail workers all got a couple of years in. But I didn't come here to dwell on the pasture. It's nearly 2045. Look ahead, oh ye citizens of that great Monroe County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose. No. My name is Jose. Okay. I am the face of immigration. I am the result of capital diaspora. I arrived in this country 17 years ago. Just me and my passport. My goal was better life for my family, who stayed across the border. I don't want to tell sad stories, but that is this what I built. Besides dorms, for the mostly white students at IU. I came here to help build the city, and they did build many houses and building across Bloomington. I just didn't know that those constructions would destroy my life and the lives of so many other immigrants. For one of the tallest buildings was a big new jail, a place designed to make the rest of the city harmonious by pulling all the undesirable people out of street or the pretty houses I was never allowed to live in. Today, the jail is nearly 15 years old. It was in that building that my son was locked up. That here has been in and out more and then out for over decade ever since and I arrived to help me build. Today is an out. Today is not about sadness. Today is about rebellion. Rebellion against a space that invalidates lives. Goodbye, Bloomington. You will not exploit me anymore. I am going to deport me myself.
Excuse me, what is your name for the record?
Paulo, José Paulo, José Paulo. Okay?
Thank you. Any other speakers wishing to make public comment, come forward to the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams.
Hi, my name is Lee Grundhafer. I attended the long-term financing group that happened on Friday, and some FSG was here, and they presented information, and the information they presented on the county tax rate was incorrect. It's been, they said it was 1.8, it's been 2.035 since 2022. How can we trust people who can't even get our tax rate right to give us financial information? Thank you.
Very much. Okay. Anyone else wishing to make public comment here in the Nat U Hill or on Teams? All right. Seeing no more, we are going to finish public comment. I do want to note, just counselors and Michelle and auditor, I received a message from Justin Baker with emergency management due to the storm. He will very likely not be able to be here. When we get to item 10, we can look at those items, make a decision to table them or move forward.
I believe I could probably take care of it because I believe they're all additional appropriations regarding grants.
That's why I asked. Yeah. Thank you very much. Awesome. Appreciate all the public comment today. I do want to note the Nat U Hill, all are always welcome, either here in person or on Teams, to make those comments. And we appreciate it. Again, we apologize for the heat, but it's just one of those days. Let's move on to number 5, item 5, which is department updates. And there'll be a time limit of 10 minutes per department. Do we have any department wishing to give us an update here in the Nat U Hill or on Teams? Come on forward. Parks and Rec, Kelly Whitmer.
I know.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'll get you next. Departments and elected officials are also all welcome here in the Nat U Hill.
You have to push it, but okay. I'll keep this short. I'm here to tell you about our budget proposal for 2025. I just want to give you a heads up that we'll be asking for 2 additional park maintenance technicians. And I just want you to realize that our 5 technicians to date, there are plumbers, our electricians, chainsaw people, there are field turf experts, there are carpenters, heavy machine operators. They also tow all of our equipment. They do the irrigation, the splash pad, all of the things that takes high skill level. Most people think, oh, aren't they mowing and weed eating? Well, that's our hourly that do that. Our full-time people are doing that on a daily basis. And you may or may not know that now we're operating 529 acres. In the next year or so, we'll be at 1,020 acres, which is about 491 acres in this year and next year. So not every property is the same, but we do have to maintain it. We have to provide security. We have to get it going toward a future for the public to use. We've had some donations, some very great, how do I say this, $1 million donations to the county recently. So we are very fortunate, but I just want to give you a heads up on that. Do you have any questions?
Let's see. Counselors, any questions for Kelly Whitmer? Counselor Iverson.
It's not so much a question, but rather congratulations on good stewardship of county lands to the point where we do have people coming forward wanting to be so generous with your departments. Congratulations to your team.
Well, excellent. And when we get all the paperwork situated, we'll invite everybody out. And it's a gift for Monroe County and the citizens of Monroe County. So it is a wonderful gift that we will be getting very soon.
Thank you very much. Other questions or comments? All right, good to see you back. Thank you so much. And Michelle, I skipped you and shouldn't have, but Michelle, what do you got for us?
That's okay. So at the June 11th meeting, the Highway Department requested an additional appropriation for a vehicle purchase. And in the paperwork that was submitted, there was an account line and it was 41004. And it should have been 41104. So the auditor's office made that correction, went ahead and did the appropriation, but we wanted to make sure that it was noted for the record that there was an error. So that's it. There's no action needed.
Thank you, and I always appreciate these updates. So we get it on the record, we make good of it, and down the road we go. Any other departmental updates? We've got the jail commander here, Commander Gibbons. Good to have you with us.
Good evening, everybody. We had an extensive public comment today, so I'll keep it very brief. Just want to give you guys a quick update as to the kind of population that we have currently at our facility. We have 238 inmates, 209 in our secure beds, 189 felony, 37 misdemeanors. That's 19 bookings in the last 28, 12 releases in the last 48. Male population is 203. Female population is 35. Our medical population, inmates receiving medical care, continued medical care, is 226 of the 238 total inmates. Recent bookings, we have criminal trespass, public nudity, and operating while intoxicated, multiple cases of each. Any questions?
Let's see. Commander, thanks always also for coming in here and giving us a realistic portrayal about what's going on and then taking our questions. Anyone have questions? I almost said, Counselor.
It's okay. So my standard question is, are you fully staffed?
Fully staffed.
Congratulations.
No change. Thank you. Thank you.
That's big news. That's wonderful. The second thing came up during our SUDAC meeting on Friday. Do you know off the top of your head what the average length of stay is?
I do not.
That's okay. Thought I'd ask.
I see you got some folks with you today.
I do.
Joining us.
I've got a few people here today.
Yeah.
And that is something that's in the annual jail report as well. I think we've sent out.
Oh,
and
yes.
you can have, we can get it to you again. Either way.
That's okay.
Thank you. Other questions? Counselor Hawk.
Yes. mine's finally working, maybe. Could you, are you keeping track of the ones who are arrested? How many times they've been, part of the revolving door?
Recidivism?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
And are you willing to share that with
That
us?
is provided in the annual jail report as well. The rate itself. Now, the people, obviously, we would not list, although it is public information.
Right, because it would be of interest to me to see, we see how many's coming in, we see how many's released, and it's of great interest as to the amount that's being released, whether or not they paid bond or they released without bond, and how many of them, whether it was felony or what it was, whatever it is.
Statistically speaking, it's a violation of probation, parole. Those are the kind of things that bring people back.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
All right, any other questions while the jail commander is here? Seeing none, thank you so much, and we appreciate you very much joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, everybody in the room, there is water out there. Stay cool. Don't hold back drinking it, just to be polite, because we want us to keep you hydrated. Let's move on from department updates. I don't see any more on Teams or in person. We'll move on to council liaison updates. Item 6, any council liaison updates? Councilor Munson.
I want to give a quick update about the County Council State Called Conference held last Saturday and attended by yours truly, but with our Council Administrator Kim Schell, our Council Assistant Courtney Moser, and our Auditor Brianne Gregory. This is the best state called conference I've been to in 12 years. It was truly worthwhile. And it was not held in the Shelbyville Casino, and we didn't have to gag walking through the smoke-filled betting areas.
That's ridiculous.
Very quickly, we covered legislative advocacy, road funding, and public access. Those are the highlights that I just want to tell you about quickly. For legislative advocacy, we got to hear from Representative Jeff Thompson and Senator Travis Holdman, who are co-chairs of the local tax review task force, and they covered a lot. So hold on to your pockets and purses. They have major levy growth quotient reform as one of their goals, and they didn't give us any hint what this really means for us. Their intention is to work toward reducing property taxes and balances against increasing income taxes. And the reason they say this is that property tax has become a wealth tax because many people's largest asset is their home, their house, and homestead. And this is messing up the intention of the legislature in terms of tax structuring. Something that came up by the co-chairs, but then talked about by myself and others, were COIC councils and how the COIC councils setting tax rates and policies can really impede plans for any major undertakings. For example, our jail and justice center. And we talked about it being a serious issue that it has been for years, but it is really a serious issue now. And I think all of you should be contacting your legislators to emphasize this. For road funding, we heard from Representative Jim Pressel. He chairs the House Roads and Transportation Committee. And he brought up things that we don't think about. He says there's a great need for funds for major highway improvements. And they are starting a discussion about tolls for these. Maybe tolling just additional lane construction. And they would like support from local government for for helping the state maintain the main highways, because they say if tolls are passed, then they can use more of the gas tax funding to help local road projects and community crossings, which has been so important in Monroe County. And last but not least, they're contemplating something called a regional tax for transportation that would be modeled after the food and beverage tax. So there was a lot of heavy discussion there. We also heard from the public access counselor, and I'm happy to say we appear to be ahead of the game. For July of 2025, they are going to insist that all public meetings be recorded, held in public and recorded, but we're already there. They do highly recommend that we have a written and adopted public meeting policy, including time limits on speaking, that we have another policy for decorum and civility at public meetings. And I think that's a pretty good wrap. But I want to ask Kim Schell if she wants to add anything to this, or Brianne Gregory.
No, thank you for summarizing. That's great.
I think you did a great job.
So, oh, thank you guys. So we do have some handouts for you all that will come to you by email. Here's a local income tax components that shows a whole bunch of different buckets. That's just too weird.
Too weird. I like it.
Well, it was cute cartoons. Then we have some other multi-page handouts that you can feel like you didn't miss anything if you look them over. So there you go.
Thank you.
No, we're going to send them to you by email so you can file them and keep them.
I want a hard copy.
That's right.
Then you print your hard copy.
Yeah.
Okay, then ask the staff to print you a hard copy.
Thank you for this comprehensive report of the conference. That is awesome, Councilor Munson, and we will all look very much forward to that. We're always watching for news of the state. It's hard to keep up with the state sometimes, but
and we better.
It's our job.
I do want to say,
Yes.
Which Councilor Munson forgot to mention, was that they have recorded this meeting in the past, and there was a lack of interest of anyone requesting it, so they did not record this past meeting, which was an excellent meeting, of course.
Yeah, of course.
So
Awesome. Thank you.
Question.
Councilor Hawk.
Yes, I understand that, Michelle, at least some of you attended the earlier budget second session before the so that is recorded. That portion is recorded, and we all should be obligated to watch that. And so I think I'm signed up to receive it, and I'm not sure that you can share it with all of us each person signing up. But could you check to make sure that they have my request and send it to me?
yes, I'll double check. Normally, I won't get that link if you signed up on your own. I'm not involved in that, but I'll reach out and find out. But if any counselor is interested in the budget 1 and or the budget 2 lessons, you just need to let me know. I can sign you up, and then they can forward you that link. But it is at a cost, but we have that.
Who was the person giving that meeting? Do you know who it was? It was AIC, right?
Yes.
And so was it Ryan Hoff or? Never mind.
I don't recall. Huh?
Oh, it was a lady, Jackie.
Right, but who was the speaker?
Yeah.
Can't remember.
All right. Other council liaison updates? Councilor Crossley, then Iverson.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I'm seeing stars because it's hot in here, or the stars that were here from Monroe County Council Theater. So, so here we go. So, brief, I will bring, once again, the Women's Commission met last week, And I just wanted to update everybody again. They are partnering with the Women's Commission in the city for their women's market that will be held on July 27th, rather. And so again, if there are vendors that are looking to participate, you can do that as well. And the only other big thing that I wanted to put on everybody's radar that I thought was really cool that they're working on is, one, to the council, they would like to bring forth to the council a report of what it is that they are doing and what they have accomplished. So I thought that was a really good idea. So here soon, we should hear from them, and we'll work with the council office to get them on the agenda for that. The other big thing that is possibly coming up down their pike is they are also doing the women's build that is on September 20th. So they are partnering with Habitat to help build a home. And so they were looking for maybe a few of us to help as well, which hopefully will not break quorum. So there's that. And then the last big thing that they are working on is a women's health fair that is coming up later in September. And it looks like they're trying to do some big partnering with folks in the community. So again, those are some 3 major updates that they are working on, and that is all.
All right. Thank you much, Councilor Iverson.
Thank you, President Deckard. I want to bring an update from the Substance Use Disorder Advisory Committee. First and foremost, the opioid settlement dollars are available right now to eligible organizations. If you have questions about eligibility, simply go to co.monroe.in.us and click on the important news, and you can find all the documents there. If you have questions, our auditor's office is more than happy to answer those for you. Contact information's on the form. That closes in 5 days. So for that first round. So any additional, did I bungle that too much? All right. At the last SUDAC meeting, I was talking about the 3 new positions in the health contract for the sheriff's department, and I got out over my skis a little bit. So I asked Sheriff Marte if he could recommend someone to help correct my errors, and Mr. Dustin Hanlon from Advanced Correctional Health Care is a licensed clinical social worker, and he came and presented at the Substance Use Disorder Advisory Commission on Friday. A recording is available, and so I'm going to be super brief with what I'm saying here. If you want more details and some of the questions that Centerstone, the health department, probation asked, that recording is available. We now have our 3rd qualified mental health professional on board. That's going to be very instrumental. The discharge planner has been on the job for 3 weeks. That person is already working on sexually transmitted infection testing and has done so for 21 people inside the jail, worked with New Leaf, New Life, Centerstone Supportive Housing, and on transportation issues. That person in just 3 weeks is already crazy busy. So that was good to hear. We are looking, this is the crux of what we wanted to talk about was a substance use counselor. That person has not been hired, but we are, the jail, is interviewing for that person. And there was a lot of questions about medical advised treatment, MET. There's a lot of questions about hepatitis C. There's a lot of questions about coverage, healthcare coverage, continuing from the outside into the jail and then further on. So lots of great conversation. Check out that if you're interested at all in medical care within the jail or healthcare within the jail. It was a good conversation.
Okay, thank you. I think that got us on liaison reports. Let's jump to the other items on the agenda. And council, I'm going to try to move us as fairly quick here. Let's move to item number 7 on consent agenda.
Council, I move to approve the following consent agenda items for June 25th. The Board of Commissioners requests for a category transfer in Fund 1138-0000 in the amount of $179,512.90 from the capital category to the services category. The Board of Commissioners requests for a category transfer in Fund 1215-0068 Election Fund Commissioners in the amount of $5,000 from the services category to the supplies category. The Health Department's request for a category transfer in Fund 8126-9624 Futures Clinic in the amount of $1,163.74 from the supplies category and $370.98 from the services category for a total transfer of $1,534.72 to the personnel category. And lastly, the Highway Department's request of a category transfer in Fund 1169-0000, Local Road and Streets, in the amount of $160,000 from the supplies category to the capital category.
Second.
Any questions from council on the consent agenda items? Seeing none, can we have, 2 seconds. Okay. Can we do a voice vote on that? Counselors, okay. All those in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda has passed. Let's move on to item number 8, a request from the courts.
Council, I move to approve the court's request for a new account line 30006 contractual and Fund 1213-0000 GAL-CASA, and to simultaneously approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $9,475 in the services category.
Second.
We have with us Lisa Abraham, Courts Administrator. Thanks for waiting in this heat with us.
No problem. I kind of like the heat. I'm okay. I can handle this.
You're used to heat over there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were actually surprised this CASA grant, which is a court-appointed special advocate. We've already come before you earlier in the year and received some money, but we didn't even ask for additional, but they sent us a notification and said they're going to give us an extra $9,475. Awesome. So we were thrilled. So I am just here. It says pass-through grant, so just to have it appropriated. So we're ready to go, but it was a very nice surprise.
Awesome. Questions from council? Counselor Wiltz.
I'll just preempt my colleagues by saying, isn't it great that county government gets so many grants and outside funding coming into the county? Congratulations.
Yeah, I understand what they do is when they give the money, they look at the counties that aren't using the money that they were already given. And so they take some back and give it to those that still need it. And since we still need it, because
I've heard that as well.
The CASA, this is one that I will be increasing in our next year's budget because the fact that they've cut them like $75,000 for next year. So we're grateful for anything we can get this year.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
All right. So with that, no more questions here. How about comments from the public? If you have them, raise your hand on Teams or come forward in the NatU Hill. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Yes. I want to make a quick note here on the last item, the consent agenda item, which council knows I screw up all the time. I did not ask for public comment on the consent agenda, and that was my fault, chair's fault, not the council. If you were a member of the public that had any comment on that, I would welcome you at this point, and I apologize. All right. We'll catch it better next time. Let's move on to item number 9. It's a request from Highway.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request for a new account line 23400 bituminous and Fund 1229-0000 LOIT special distribution, and to simultaneously approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $2,203.24 in the supplies category.
Second.
All right. Ms. Ridge is joining us via Teams. Ms. Ridge, anything to tell us?
I can take 6.
This is just something that's had a balance for years when we've received the lowest distribution, and we were just wanting to appropriate these funds so we can zero it out. So, yeah.
All right. Questions from council? I'm seeing none. Before we lose you, Ms. Ridge, and do public comment and vote, I just want to know, as you can hear a little noise in here, we appreciate very much all your folks and all the stuff they're dealing with today with all of this. We don't know the extent of it, but I bet you do. And we appreciate that very much, okay?
Thank you. There's a lot of trees down. We've been out on the roads continuously, so I just ran in here for this meeting.
Well, thanks for doing that and waiting. Be safe out there. Let's go to public comments on this item. If you have them, come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Council, with your, without objection, I'd like to skip item 10 since EMA is not here. We'll come back to it. And then do
Okay.
the ones where we got folks in the queue, if that works.
Okay.
But we will do EMA. Let's move on then to item number 11, which is a request from the Health Department.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request to amend the 2024 salary ordinance and fund 1161-0000, local public health services, account line 10107, disease intervention specialist program coordinator, from 35 hours to 40 hours, and to simultaneously amend the corresponding account lines and fund 8112, STD Strengthening Prevention Grant, and 8180 Disease Intervention Grant, as this position is split with other health grant and funding sources.
Second.
Okay. We've got Lori Kelly, our health administrator, with us. Ms. Kelly, thanks for waiting.
Yes, good evening. So I do just want to note this request for this position. This is a grant funded position, so it should be within 8180. I'm not sure if that matters for tonight.
Let's see if Michelle.
Yes, it was mentioned in the motion that I gave to Counselor Crossley.
We're good.
Okay, perfect. So this first request is just to move our disease interventional specialist coordinator from 35 to 40 hours. So the work on top of the workload, this employee does spend a lot of time traveling, as she does cover 12 different counties providing these services. The Board of Health did vote to recommend this change at their May meeting.
One item, I thank you, Ms. Kelly. One item I just want to know here on this, there's been some questions about it because the council is currently looking at a lot with FLSA, 35 to 40 hours, and there's about 9 million things that Ms. Turner King is trying to figure out. One item of note on this particular request, this change that we've got is funded through grants, and anything not covered by grant then comes out of the local public health services fund. So essentially it's state dollars that we received last year to do those grants, which is why this is being treated a little bit differently. I want to make that note for council because I know I've had questions, others have had maybe some questions as well. All right, any questions from council on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none. Let's go to some public comment. If you have public comment, come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none. Let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, we'll move to the second of 4 requests from the Health Department.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request for a creation of new account lines as set forth on the agenda and fund 8180-9625 Disease Intervention STD, and to simultaneously approve an additional appropriations of $112,648 in the personnel category, $1,000 in the supplies category, and $8,110 in the services category, for a total appropriation of $121,758.
Second.
All right, Ms. Kelly.
So this is just an ongoing grant award, but this is our new grant award. So this will support our full-time DIS coordinator as well as a part-time assistant role. Previously, we did have additional grant funding that we used to support personnel, but that has gone away. So we have moved our other full-time employee into the local public health services fund. So this will primarily just be used for our coordinator, the assistant, and then for services such as cell phone and mileage.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kelly. Any questions from council? All right, seeing none. Let's go to comments from the public. Any comments come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. All right, seeing none. Let's go to a roll call vote on B.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right. We'll go to the third of 4 items from the Health Department.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request for an additional appropriations and Fund 8126-9624 Futures Clinic in the amount of $3,935.20 in the personnel category.
Second.
Ms. Kelly.
So this is just another new grant award. So as you are familiar with, we do transition between Title X and TANF grant funding. Both of those grants support our clinic as well as program income. So this is just approval of this new grant award.
All right. Any questions from council? All right. Seeing none. Let's go to comments from the public. Come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none. Let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right. And the fourth of 4 requests from health.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request for an additional appropriations and Fund 8150-9624 TANF Futures and the amount of $97,887 in the personnel category, $12,239 in the supplies category, and $1,952 in the services category for a total appropriation of $112,78.
Second.
There we go.
Got it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kelly.
So this is our new grant award for the TANF. I think, did I maybe misspeak? The last one was our program revenue. So this is just our new grant award that will carry us through September 31st of 2024, and then we will transition back into Title X funding.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? All right. Seeing none, let's go to public comment. If you haven't, come forward to the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Munson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right. Before we move to item 12, which is going to be an update from DLZ, if you want to come forward, Mr. Scott Carnegie has been back there patiently waiting. I just wanted to quickly know a travel advisory has been issued for Monroe County due to heavy road congestion. And this is specifically because some roads may be impassable or closed due to debris. I know my wife indicated that was the case for her, and I'm hearing from other counselors some things like that. Michelle.
Yes, I just, the maintenance gentleman just came in and he said the AC is down, so we have no air. So it is going to get hotter in here. So
We can confirm that to be true.
We can confirm that.
Lots of hot air.
Yeah,
Yes.
we do have.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, we do.
And so with that, last thing I'll just say on roads and passing, not that anyone is listening to a CATS meeting while the storm recovery, but please be gentle on each other out there, particularly our workers trying to restore roads, our law enforcement officers trying to respond, first responders. Please be gentle with all of them out there and be safe. Look out for each other. Mr. Carnegie, thank you for waiting.
All right. Thank you. So I want to give you an update on where we are, what we've accomplished regarding the Jail and Justice Project. So we are in what we call the pre-design phase. The pre-design phase really consists of 3 different items, categories. One is the programming phase. That one is not site-specific. Then the other 2 elements within the pre-design phase is master planning and conceptual design. And as you would imagine, those are site-specific. There are three primary design phases that occur after pre-design. That's schematic design, design development, construction documents, and then the bidding and procurement phase, and then the construction. So that's where we are. We're at the very early stages of the project and the pre-design. Generally speaking, I've written down some bullet points here, and I kind of have them in chronological order generally as these events have occurred. But several of the commissioners, some of the council, some of the sheriff's office transition team, we've toured other jails in the state, surrounding states. The particular jails that I've been in, a part of touring, the Franklin County Corrections Center in Columbus, Ohio. I think there were a total of 3 trips. Jefferson County, there was a total of, I think, 1 trip so far. Hamilton County twice. We've also toured Montgomery County. Vigo County once, and I think we want to go back and tour that one more time with the transition team, as well as Clark County. We want to go and tour that one as well. And I know that some of you participated in some of those tours as well. On April the 26th, we had a programming, kind of a kickoff meeting with the Justice Department because we were going to start the programming process with them. And again, I know a couple of you council members participated and attended that meeting also. But that was really just an opportunity to bring all the justice-related departments together collectively and explain what we're doing, what the programming phase really is, and what it's ultimately going to lead to. I also handed out homework. It was a space needs questionnaire. And I would say this, whether I was standing here or not, if I was standing at home talking to my wife, all of the Justice Department representatives, they've been wonderful to work with, very, very accommodating. They've participated, which is very helpful and necessary for the benefit of the project. So I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to them. Once I received these space needs questionnaires back, then I translated that into the actual beginning of a program, a spreadsheet, where we track all the spaces, the size of spaces, relationships to from one space to another. And then we had, and then myself and 2 other people from DLZ, we went and we toured some of the existing spaces. We toured all the existing spaces of the Justice Departments. We did that because we wanted to have a better appreciation and understanding so that when we met with them and they were talking to us about their space needs, we had a better understanding and appreciation for that. That occurred on May the 8th. May 13th was kind of our first kind of a formal individual programming session with each individual department individually. That's where they kind of really saw my translation of their space needs responses into the program. That really just kind of offered an opportunity for a lot of good dialogue, just to make sure that we had the spaces, or if I misunderstood something in their space needs questionnaire. Then I went back and I corrected and made those adjustments in the program. And then on June 14th, we had another meeting. So we kind of went through it again to make sure that I understood and interpreted those comments correctly. So all those meetings were very good and very beneficial. Anticipated future activities. There will be probably another round of meetings, individual programming meetings with the individual justice departments, offices and departments. And a lot of it's going to be pending kind of what the established budget is and where we may have to make some adjustments regarding the scope, which Chris is going to talk about that here in a moment. We also, Jama Chandler, the court administration, has been very helpful in trying to coordinate dates and times and meeting rooms and all that. But she has coordinated with the judges, and I think on Friday, August 23rd, we're going to try to tour the Marion County, Indianapolis Community Justice Center, more modern justice facility. And then in conjunction with the transition team, I think while we're there, we're going to also tour the jail. That's kind of why we've been holding back on the jail, so we just make one trip. But we're going to try to schedule and coordinate that to occur on August the 23rd. There are 3 other justice facilities we've identified in conjunction with the justice offices that we'd like to tour: Elkhart County, Jackson County, and Delaware County. But we haven't really set proposed dates, but those are the 3 that have been identified we may want to go look at. We've also very recently, now this is a good segue, working with Weddell Garmong Smoot. It's a joint venture. They've unofficially, almost officially been hired by the county as the construction manager. They're play an integral role throughout the process. They're going to really be closely monitoring the schedule, scope, the budget. So with that, Chris Cioli with Weddle Brothers, he has put together this information he's going to present here regarding the different options regarding scope and budget.
Thank you, Scott. So as Scott mentioned, I'm part of the WGS team, so it's Weddle Brothers.
I'm sorry, can you pull the microphone?
Sorry, can you, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Welcome.
So, thank you. So I'm part of the joint venture, which is Weddle Brothers, Garmong, and Smoot. We're partners in this process. But what we've been asked to do, because we're fairly new into this process, but was to provide some overview on our understanding of what the ask is as far as square footage needed for a new jail and sheriff's facility, and then also a new justice facility. So some of the parameters that were given to us, provided, is we were to evaluate a budget of $180 million and a budget of $200 million. So with that being said, we know that based on those, you carry about 20% contingency. That contingency will hold professional fees, that's land purchase, FF&E, bond counsel, permitting process, environmental, printing, all the ancillary items that go along with the process. Something that I will mention is that contingency is currently carried separately, but at the time that this job goes, when it moves forward and it's divvied up into bid packages, likely that contingency will be incorporated into each bid package. So there is room to make adjustments as needed, because like with any construction project, you have unforeseen conditions. There's always something that comes up and you want to be prepared to address that. So what we did was first looked at a 400-bed facility, rated 400-bed facility, which our understanding is that requires 120,000 square feet to build that. Just doing the math at $674 a square foot takes that total value to $80,880,000. That's very, we just try to average what we're seeing. One of our partners in this program, Garmong, is very familiar and in tune with what the justice facilities are currently costing, the jails. They have a lot of experience in this area, so there's just some numbers that have been provided by them. So they are real. This isn't just an arbitrary number that was pulled out of the sky. So with that being said, moving down to the next line in blue, if you deduct that $80,880,000 out of the $180 million, that leaves you with a balance for hard construction cost of $63,120,000. Right next to it, if you have the $200 million budget, it leaves you with a balance of $79,120,000. That remaining balance would be used to build the co-located justice facility. My understanding is that the ask is to build the justice facility to accommodate not only what they have currently, but a growth of 50%. So that would take that number to 136,848 square feet. We use the number of $575 a square foot as a representative placeholder for what we believe it would cost. Extend that out. If you have the $180 million budget, you deduct that $78,687,600 off, you would have a shortfall of $15,567,600. But you would have enough funds to build a 109,773 square foot justice facility, which is approximately 20% larger than the current space that they have. Then what we believe and understanding based on information provided is that all justice facilities that would be co-located take up 91,222 square feet. So again, if you go to the right, if you use the $200 million budget, you have enough funds, you will have enough funding available to build the 136,848 square foot facility with a balance of $432,400. So that's the 400 bed rated capacity jail. That's a justice facility. Moving to the next option, which is a 500 bed facility. We use the same budget numbers, 180 million, 200 million. Same thing, same contingencies. Moving down, estimated hard construction costs at 150,000 square feet. That's to accommodate a 500-bed facility instead of a 400-bed facility. So you're increasing the building size. That comes with a price tag of $101,100,000, which leaves $42,900,000 in scenario one at the $180 million budget, or $58,900,000 in scenario two with a $200 million budget. So doing the math and taking it down, we know what it costs to build the 136,848 square foot justice facility. So with the funds remaining, you would either be able to build a 74,608 square foot facility, or you'd have to increase your budget by $35,787,600. That is your deficit in that scenario. In the 200 million scenario, you can build a 102,000 square foot, 434 square foot facility, which is 12% larger than what you currently have, or you can increase your budget by $19,787,600. So with all that being said, those are the scenarios based on very high level math, square footages that we're seeing in the industry, and the ask that's been given to us as 500 bed facility, 400 bed facility, 136,000 square foot justice facility. I also want to take this time to mention that everybody, with everything, there's inflation. And in the construction market currently, we're seeing that range between 4% and 6% annually. So we use the number of 5%. So if you take that on the $180 million value, that's $9 million a year that you would see an increase theoretically in the cost of the project. Breaking that a little bit farther, it could be $750,000 a month. Is that precise? No, but just to give you some figures on what the annual cost of delaying could be.
All right, thank you. The only other kind of a closing comment that I wanted to acknowledge is we anticipate starting programming with the Sheriff's Office and Jail Transition Team, led by Mr. Corey Grass, on or around July 22nd. So we would anticipate that probably taking 6, 7, probably no more than 8 weeks to complete that. So
we appreciate this very much. I suspect there's questions from counselors. Are you okay to take a few here today?
Sure.
And I just had one to kind of kick the ball open a little bit. I want to make sure I'm understanding it, and we're getting our heads around this, plus what we learned on Friday from FSG when they were here. If I were to say on the Justice Center, the two different scenarios, a total cost for the Justice Center itself, not the jail per se, but the Justice Center, what are those two total costs, period, I guess I'm saying?
So the Justice Center, based on the ask of the 136,000 square feet, which is 50% growth, that cost doesn't change. That's $78,687,600.
78 million.
78 million, period.
78,687,600.
Okay.
That's the 136,848 times $575 a square foot. It may give and take.
yeah, one clarification, and this is where people get tripped up. Trent, I think I heard you say total cost.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So total project cost, I think what Chris was citing was the hard construction cost. So the total project cost, you need to add back the 40% for the soft cost for the hard construction cost figure that Chris just gave to get to the total project cost for the Justice Center.
Wait, what? Then we have to keep that in front of us.
Yeah, we got to make sure, because if I'm thinking 78 and I missed that 40% of that sauce.
We up in the top of that document where it talks about the estimated soft costs, you have your contingencies that are built in. That gets distributed among the costs. So depending on how those contingencies fall and you have to take into the land purchase goes into it. You have your design permitting. All of that gets distributed equally across the projects. So there's, at the moment, I don't know what that is because we don't know what the parameters are of the building.
Okay.
But hard costs, I guess, I jumped ahead. Construction hard costs, anticipated, no contingency, no other ancillary fees, is that $575 a square foot. There will be other costs within the soft costs that are associated with it. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay. Let's jump into others, not me. Counselor Wiltz.
Just to bounce off of that question, and you're saying it's between 20 and 40%?
That's just what I was going to ask.
Because 20% is what's here for the.
Oh, did I say 40%?
You did.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's 20.
sorry. Let me retract that.
Oh, good.
Sorry. Yes,
Please do.
20% is what it's kind of the industry standard for soft costs.
Okay.
That gets added on top of the hard construction. Thank you for Kate for catching that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. And I also want to thank you for being here because I threw a tantrum last meeting, and my intent was hopefully to get you to come here, and I know that it was through no fault of your own that you hadn't visited us, and you've been nothing but engaging and polite whenever I've talked to you. So I really do appreciate that you're here now and giving us maybe more information than we can fully appreciate right now. So be careful what you ask for, I guess, is the lesson there. But truly, thank you both for doing all this work and giving us numbers that now that we have them, we have a lot of thinking to do.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Counselor Wiltz. Any other counselors? Counselor Iverson.
Well, first of all, I want to start by just saying thank you both for being here. It is hot. There's a travel advisory. It's stormy. Really appreciate you doing this. I know I've been eager to have you come and present to council for a while now, and really appreciate that. I also appreciate these numbers. This is one of the things that I'm most happy about is the progress that this represents. We now have square footage estimates. We now have cost estimates, and your cost estimates, let me hold this up right side up. Your cost estimates roughly comport to our conversation that we had on Friday. So it's really wonderful to be able to move forward. We do have that square footage, we have the costs, and also the way that this is structured. I don't know if this is in the packet today.
No, we didn't get it until.
Okay. We'll try and get this out, but the bimodal way in which you have created this document where we have costs for the sheriff's office and jail, and then we have costs for the justice center, and the way that those two are separated out not only, I think, reflect the will of a lot of folks in local government to talk about the way we want to co-locate and bring our justice partners alongside with us, but also the bimodal way that Friday's conversation happened, where we were talking about just the same thing, that as ugly as that sheet that Councilmember Munson held up with a bunch of buckets of money, right? That's what we're talking about, right? Yeah. We're trying to match up the buckets of money with what you all are presenting to us today and trying to make decisions about how big those buckets are, how small those buckets are. The last thing that I want to talk about is I really appreciate that 20% being in here, because on Friday we talked about not contingency costs, but coverage costs. And that is going to be important because what is not on this sheet are labor costs. Keeping the lights on, keeping that sort of thing. That's going to be really important as we move forward with what we're going to be talking about. But knowing how big this is going to be important for your transition team conversations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really happy with the progress we're making, and I'm just so thankful you're here presenting today.
Thank you.
Councilor Munson.
I just wanted to make a brief point, and that is that at Friday's financial meeting with FSG, we did talk about phasing in construction and as a way to help manage this. So I would ask that you all keep that concept in front of you and inform us about the pros and cons thereof.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Munson. Councilor Iverson.
I finally have a question and not just a long-winded speech. You had mentioned a couple dates coming up. July 22nd, you're going to start working with the transition team. August 23rd, you're going to go up to the Marion County Jail.
Tentative, but yes.
Yeah, tentative. Are there plans to come back to council and present some additional updates for, I guess, maybe in August after you've met with the transition team?
I'm more than happy to do so. I'm sure the Weddle Garmong Smoot team would be happy to do so as well.
Well, on behalf of 1/7 of the council, I invite you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, Councilor Wiltz?
So I'm not sure how to, we've only had these numbers for a very, very short while.
Right.
And so I don't know if it's a linear thing, it might be. But if I were to say, want to know how much a 300 bed capacity estimate look, would I just divide and subtract?
You could figure it out. You could extrapolate it. I think we'd be happy to kind of run that as a separate scenario if we were asked to run one for 300. I mean, essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take the square footage is going to come down. You're going to multiply it times the same square footage and just do the same math.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess what I don't know is if the square footage is, equally,
Right.
but
Yeah.
Okay. So if we want to see those numbers, we might have a chance to, because I know this is an ongoing kind of discussion, and since we've been asked about bed count, now we have some idea of how that influences cost, and we have some idea from Friday as to what funds can go toward which pieces here. So the missing component then is operationally. We've had several different recommendations as to how big the facility needs to be. And I know the sheriff's gonna talk to us, hopefully. We'll get together with him on that topic, but I think it might be useful at some point in the near future to see a little bit more of a breakdown, more than two options, I guess is what I'm saying.
As far as staffing and operations.
Well, no, I'm talking about just this bed capacity.
Okay.
Yeah, just the bed count. But I tell you what,
300.
that's going to be a whole other part of it.
Yeah, so that
operations.
So the staffing and operations cost, it's a real cost.
Yeah.
And what I always tell a client is you will eventually pay off the hard construction cost, the bond. You will eventually pay that off.
Yeah.
Well, you will never pay off as a poorly designed jail and staffing and operations. So in many ways, that's more important in my mind, long term than what the actual, bond issuance amount might be. What I would suggest and recommend,
Like now, essentially.
yes,
We're literally living with that.
Yes.
That floor
Exactly.
decisions.
But when we start doing the programming with the transition team, with the sheriff's office and jail, one of the first questions we're going to be talking about is the supervision style, because that will have a direct impact on staffing. So once we kind of have those conversations, then we will get a little bit into design where we begin to lay out the facility, very schematic. But at that point, we would strongly recommend that we do a staffing analysis so that we can determine what the anticipated staff count would be to operate that jail.
Yeah.
So, as someone who's trying to think about that as, the construction as well as ongoing costs, at what point do we have to decide this? Because it sounds like you might be collecting information that would be useful to know and maybe impact
When you say decide what,
the bed count, whatever you're asking us here, which I guess is the budget, but you're varying the budget based on bed count, so it does sort of go back to bed count.
It does.
yeah, so the cost of the jail is directly impacted by the square footage. The square footage is directly impacted by the bed count, right? We will need to know very soon what the budget is. So when I say the budget, that means the square footage,
And the
which
bed
also
count.
relates to the bed count.
Yep.
They're all three connected. Very, very soon.
Meetings next week. Right?
Possibly.
Possibly. We got to figure it out logistically.
So we're going to need to make decisions about bed count without knowing about operational costs.
Yeah, you have to design it first before we can actually run a staffing analysis, know where every post needs to be.
And is there an impact? Is there like an economy of scale? Like if you have 400 versus 300 or 500 versus 400 that if impacts operations?
That will be primarily dependent on the supervision style.
You can see why I ask, right?
Yeah, no, I get it. It's kind of a circular.
I'm not like out in the clouds here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments? Councilor Iverson.
Thank you, President Deckard. And this is more for, I think, to refresh my memory from Friday for this body, is when we were having a conversation, there was a topic about, that we needed to make a decision by, I think it was it August? Am I remembering that correctly?
I've heard some mixed reviews on that specific, and I know Molly Turner King was gonna.
Online if you need
Is she online?
I'm here. I just can't get back there.
Oh, okay. Good to have you with us. Do you want to make any comments about Councilor Iverson's question?
I think what Council Iverson is referring is during the Friday LTF meeting, Mr. Garitas referenced that if the tax rate was going to be changed, we needed to notify the taxing districts by August 1st. And I looked at the statutes, and that August 1st deadline applies if the local income tax committee changes the tax rate. But the correctional tax is not passed by the local income tax committee. It is solely passed by the county council or the county fiscal body. And so I do not think that you have to notify the taxing districts by August 1st if you're going to change the taxing rate. The consideration that comes into account for when the correctional tax is the adoption date depends, the date that you adopt it will impact the rate change effective date. So if you adopt it between January 1st and August 31st, the effective date occurs on October 1st, and that's kind of what we did last year when you implemented the correctional tax. If it's adopted between September 1st and October 1st, the effective date becomes January 1st, and if it's adopted between November 1st and December 31st, then the effective date is October 1st. So I don't think we have the August 1st deadline to worry about, but depending on when you want the effective date to take place, will determine when you need to adopt or update the tax rate.
Can I, Councilor Iverson, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. A follow-up to what Ms. Turner King said. It's my understanding, not being in your fields, that every month that we delay, it just gets more and more expensive. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes.
Theoretically, yes. Nothing's getting cheaper.
I'm sorry, what?
Nothing is getting cheaper.
Nothing is getting cheaper.
And since we're kind of talking timeline, if we start the programming for the Sheriff's Office and Jail Transition Team on or around July 22nd, and I said, no, that'll take 6, 7, 8 weeks. So that's kind of getting us up to the end of August, beginning of September. And if you recall, when I kind of my opening remarks, when I talked about the pre-design, there's 3 primary elements in the pre-design. Programming was the only one that was not site specific. So after the pre-design programming phase, I can't do much else without a site.
Well, one thing I just want to note, maybe Councilor Munson, go ahead.
Okay. I'm listening to all these variables that are, feed into our decisions. And one thing that is a variable that we can have better control over is timing. And I would like to see a timeline for the various components of what we have to deal with and put them together so we can look at them holistically and make sense of it. Would that be possible?
Yes, I think it's going to take the involvement of several people. It's
It
not
will.
just
It
us,
will.
but yes.
But I would like you all to get together and do that.
I'm going to add to that, if I could,
Okay.
Councilor Munson, because that's kind of where my comments were going. And I think this will involve several entities, so it's not So don't worry, this is
We also give homework.
much like my students say, this is a team project. But the thing that the big things I have is we now have this information from you, which is overwhelmingly appreciated. I appreciate this a lot. I got a lot of questions about it, but that's mostly me making sense of it. Then we've had what we did on Friday, which was 2 hours well spent learning about funding options. What I want to see us do along with that timeline is to start to marry the information to a bit of that timeline so we can specifically see justice, this, location, this, timeline, funding, and get this sorted out. Because I think we're getting closer, but the mud is literally all over this room, just like the heat, and we got to clean that up. You all are doing a great job in getting us this. We got to make sense of that so we can make the best decision, because we cannot make the wrong one in all of this, but particularly our job is that funding portion. Counselors, anything that we've not talked about or you wish to kind of address here? Thank you so much for staying here on a not so good night in 4,000 ways. Thank you for joining the effort. We really appreciate it. We will keep talking, keep working, and we appreciate your voice and all that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Counselors, given the heat, we're going to take about a 10-minute break. I do want to note something before we do this recess. If there's anyone, our TSD folks, our CATS folks, have anything that with family or anything, you got to check staff. You got to check with check in with me and let me know if there's something we need to adjust or change here, because I want to make sure everybody's okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's do a recess, 10 minutes, and then we'll come back together, get some water and all that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, that's how I.
We're going to bring this meeting back into meeting, or however you say that. Again, counselors, I'm going to try to keep us moving, and guests, I'm going to try to keep us moving. There's a lot going on in the county. Again, our thoughts are with all of our highway workers, first responders. Everyone, please be safe out there. There's a lot going on, and we just want to mention that we're thinking of all those folks and try to get these things on our end done, so we're ready for the things we need to do to support whatever needs to happen from the council end. So with that noted, Mr. Jeff Cockerell is here for an update on our tax abatements. But first, we do have a motion.
I will get there. Oh, oopsie. 13. Okay. Council, I move to approve Resolution 2024-24 regarding tax abatement compliance forms for Pravelli Inc., Phoenix Closure / Lazarus LLC, GLC Bloomington, Ernest Health, and Oliver Winery.
Second.
Mr. Cockerell.
Yes, and I'm happy to report that the Economic Development Commission met about a week ago and looked at all these, and they have recommended approval of all 4 of these tax abatements. I want to go through them, particularly 2 of them, because there's a little explanation to do that on how we got to that answer. The first one I would like to say is Oliver Winery. If you look at the form that's in the packet, it looks like they're way low. But I reached out to the group, and essentially the reason it looks low is because they calculated the number of employees differently than they did on their statement of benefits. So on their statement of benefits, they had included a lot of their part-time, and they use full-time equivalency as opposed to full-time actual positions. And so if you did the same calculus you did when they entered it, they would be up to 65 full-time equivalents, which is a slight increase. As when I looked at the form and it looked like they dropped 12 people, it kind of had me a little worried, but it's a slight increase. And I would just note that tax abatement was approved in the end of 2022, and it had a real estate improvement component. They were going to build out the space, and then they were bring the equipment in. So that's a reason for a lot of the lag in the employment figures versus the investment. So Mr. Black was at the Economic Development Commission meeting, and he explained that rather well. The other one I would point to is Pravelli LLC, and while this one is not to the same degree, they are still below what was in their in their statement of benefits of what they estimated that they would end up at. And so I would just note that they are complete with their project. Mr. Reinhold went through the list of things they are doing to attract people. They have open positions. They want to fill them. They've talked about they have hired a recruiting coordinator internally so that they can start recruiting, or that they have an additional resource to get recruits in. And that's really their issue, is making sure they bring in the right people, and they are striving to do that. And they are up to 38 new employees, and they had requested 50, but the salaries of those 38s are right at where they thought the salaries for the full 50 would be. So that's another thing that we like to look at, is the wage being paid. And so those are kind of the two that we had that weren't in strict compliance with what their statement of benefits for. I know Phoenix Closure, and I call it Ernest Health, although on here it is
GLC.
GLC. They came through when they did their request. It was Ernest Health. They are far exceeding their numbers. I would just like to let you know that I did send you a tax abatement that I received last week from TASIS. They missed the original filing deadline, which was mid-May. So I'm going to try to work with them to get them in front of the EDC and have them go through the same process. And then you'll have a determination at that point in time whether to accept it or not. These, if you do not accept them tonight, reject them, because after 45 days from that May 15th deadline, they are deemed approved whether you take action or not, which is why we always try to hit this meeting for this conversation. I am also working with the BDC to check on another tax abatement that we have given that we didn't get forms for, and that's Baxter, and they've transitioned quite a bit since that happened. And so we're going to make sure that they didn't miss a deadline, and if they did, we'll run it through the same process and give you guys the same choices in July for that one as well. So if you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them. I would just point out that this is a really nice way for us to talk to people, even the Oliver Wineries and the Provellis, to kind of talk to them to see, hey, what's going on, and it gives us additional insight into the private sector that government doesn't always get, and that's kind of one of the added benefits to having these things. It's just that relationship building and that understanding, and having someone to come talk to if, hey, things aren't going well, so that we can make sure that we're doing what we need to support them.
Okay. And I was going to mention the BDC is here with their CEO and President Jen Pearl. They've been a partner to the county in some of these efforts. Did you want to offer some comments on this?
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jen Pearl, and I'm the president of the BEDC. Just wanted to thank you all for considering this annual report. Thank you to Mr. Cockrell, who we work very consistently with on these abatements. And thank you to the companies for their investments and continued performance in the community. I think as we've been tracking them over the years, we see that they are doing what they are intended to do with these abatements and bringing more investment and jobs into the community, and we're trying to support wherever possible. I'm happy to answer any questions, but also just want to extend our gratitude.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? Councilor Wiltz.
Is there a recording of the Economic Development Commission meeting from this? Okay, great.
It was, I think, a week ago Monday at noon, and if you go to the county's website, go to the calendar, it's right.
Yep.
But I'm saying that as much for the public as you.
Okay.
I realize that you guys all know how to do all that.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Sometimes I'm just sitting there looking at the screen. I know it's somewhere, so I appreciate it. Provelli, you mentioned that they seem to be having maybe I'm putting too much into this, but a hard time recruiting folks. Is that a fair
Yes.
characterization?
Yes.
And did they have thoughts as to why it was difficult?
They did. And I think if you listen to the Economic Development Commission meeting, he will state it more succinctly and precisely than I will. But I think it has to do with trying to get the right fit in, and that it's just the labor market is still not turned around. He thinks it's getting closer and he thinks it's getting better, but he says for their purposes, and they went out, and like I said, he went out and they went out and hired people solely whose job it is to help bring more people in.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a pretty big step to take. So obviously it's a concern for them. Okay. Thanks.
I just want to follow up her question. He wants the skill in the labor market to be a little higher, or a little, what's the issue?
I think he believes that the bulk of their employees, they can handle the training for. They are hiring some engineering positions and things like that where they need to have some skill set coming in. But my memory is that the bulk of the people that come in, they are more than willing to provide a lot of the training on how to use their equipment and stuff coming in. So I'm not sure that the skill is maybe necessarily the issue that they're looking at. It's just getting people in.
Councilor Iverson.
Yeah, so when looking at this, I love this form. You get to see the changes in costs and values in manufacturing and IT and all of this logistics. You know, Pravelli, looks great. Millions of dollars are right on target with all of their costs in the different categories. But for, you might have mentioned this, so if I missed it, I apologize. But for Oliver Winery, it seems like they're not quite there yet. And I think, is that just something that they're still working on in terms of manufacturing costs?
I think if you look at when they expected their project to be completed for Oliver Winery, they didn't expect to have it all in until 2027.
They've got 3 more years to hit those targets. Okay.
So they are slowly building again, and I think a lot of that had to do with they had to get their real property, their building in place before they could start bringing in a lot of their bottling equipment.
No, that makes sense, and I know I've seen some of that. It's pretty amazing. If you ever get a tour of Oliver Winery, it's a lot of really cool stuff. This is great. I'll be voting in favor.
Other questions or comments? One final comment I'll just offer is that I'm really grateful, and I'm going to say this, I think I've said a couple meetings, that the BEDC has been a partner with the county and in some ways acting as an agent for the county, attempting to attract positions to this community. And speaking here today and at other things, last week you had your state of the region. Was that what it was called? State of the Region. And I want to note this for one particular, it's always a good event, but they brought to our community, our beloved community, the major nominees of all 3 parties, 3 major parties in the state of Indiana for governor of Indiana. And anyone that follows politics knows that that generally is not possible this early. And they've been working on that since December. I love those people to come here, see us. I don't agree with all those people when they speak, but I want them here so they see what we do and they don't cast aspersions about something they don't visit. And so that's huge. And we appreciate that. We appreciate these jobs, some of these groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings. It's huge. And so thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cockrell, for kind of logging this on our behalf. Anything else? Let's go to public comment. If you have comments on this agenda item, please come forward to the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cockrell. Thanks for waiting us out. We'll move to item 14. I just want to make a note. We'll go to item 10, which is the EMA request. We'll go to that after item 14, if that's okay.
Okay. All right. Well.
Let me ask that.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we, just, this is a question maybe for Ms. Turner King or Ms. Shell. Do we need to do for Councilor Crossley to read the fund number and the amount here? And
Yes, what I put in the script,
yeah.
Because those were not discussed during the ARPA meeting, I do need you to read each one of those into the motion, and then also indicate which ones are called new account lines.
Okay, all right, well, I'll take a deep breath and let's go. Council, I move to approve the creation of new account lines and to simultaneously approve additional appropriations for the American Rescue Plan Act projects, ARPA, and Fund 8950-0000 as follows. Fund number 36709, ARPA Rural Housing Repair, and the amount of $200,000. 36710, ARPA Septic Assistance, $555,000. Fund number 36712, ARPA Community Assistant Foundation, $1,200,000. 36716, ARPA Karst Wireless, $34,365. 36718, ARPA Steinsville Sewage, $25,000, which is also a new account line. 36720, jail locks and the amount of $500,000, new account line. 48010, ARPA Airport Stormwater Drainage, $4,357,800 or $82.87. 48012, Habitat Homes, $1,600,000, also new account line. 48013, Courage to Change Residential, $615,000, new account line for total appropriation $9,086,447.87.
Second.
Right. It's a healthy amount. We will go to questions, comments from council. I do want to know, this work, which we have tabled for some time, reflects last Thursday's meeting between the commissioners and the council, which was one of the most productive ARPA sessions I think I've been in for a bit, but they seem to always turn out quite well. So this is us doing our work. Councilors, do you have any comments about any of this that you want to add to that? Yes, Councilor Iverson.
I would agree with you, President Deckard, and I would add that our work isn't done. There's still more funds to distribute, and there's still a lot of need in our community. And I look forward to working with the county commissioners to get this finished in a timely manner as we are coming up on a clock.
Absolutely. One thing just to know, the breadth of these programs is tremendous in the things that they're covering. And I hope that their greatness is just as cool. But we do have more that we'll have to do quickly. Councilor Crossley.
Thank you. The only comment that I will add is I wasn't able to attend, but I was able to watch via Cats. And one of the biggest things that warmed my heart to hear Councilor Wiltz really kind of push forth with this is the Courage to Change Residential. I think I've said several times, especially at the very beginning, how we really should take a nice chunk of that money and think of substance use, mental health. In addition to a lot of public comment that we heard earlier today, I wish people, hopefully when they run it back, they can pay attention to what it is that we also are doing. In addition, as we were talking about justice facilities, this actually right here is a small step towards really trying to reduce recidivism. Obviously, we are not there yet, but it's a small step to really show that we are really trying to walk and chew gum at the same time and not just think one-minded or narrow-minded as some might think that we are. So I really am very thankful and eager to work with county commissioners in regards to making this happen. And I really appreciate that and looking forward to also seeing some other funds that we still have left with ARPA before the year is out, where we have to explain what we're doing with those to really go towards those efforts. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you very much. Great comments. Any other comments on these ARPA items? Well, for the public that's been watching to see when we might move on some of this, this is movement. So let's go to public comment and see if they have any. come forward to the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. All right. Well, with that, we will move to a roll call vote.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you. That takes us to item 14B. Next.
All right. Council, I move to approve the following de-appropriation request for the American Rescue Plan Act projects ARPA and Fund 8950-0000 as follows. Fund number 29001, ARPA gun safes in the amount of $30,000. 37418, ARPA Bicentennial Pathway, in the amount of $9,527.60. Fund number 37419, ARPA Bicentennial Non-Match, in the amount of $149,332.08. Fund number 48008, ARPA Housing Infrastructure, in the amount of $122,545, for a total de-appropriation amount of $311,404.68.
Second.
Counselors, do you have any comments or questions about this? Again, we did talk about this as well. And just for anyone watching at home, ARPA expenditures are required to pass both this council and the commissioners. That's why we met jointly. They will, I assume, do the same if they have not already in their meeting. I probably need to check that, but that's tomorrow they do. And so that will officiate or officially no action of the county. Any comments, questions? Okay, let's see if the public has comments. Come forward to the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. See, roll call vote.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you very much. We're going to jump back to item 10 and pick up the emergency management request.
Council, I move to approve emergency management's request for an additional appropriation in Fund 8119-0000, Building Resilient Infrastructure Grant in the amount of $12,932.50 in the services category.
Second.
And again, emergency management cannot be with us, obviously, due to the storm. We think we can do our part on this, and they can do their part on what they're doing. So with that, any counselor want to add to this, Counselor Munson?
This is very straightforward. It's a multi-year grant, and the funding has not been appropriated to carry over into this year, and they would like to be able to spend this now.
Thank you very much. All right, any questions or comments from counselors? Seeing none, let's go to comments from the public. If you have any, come forward to the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Munson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you very much. Item B.
Council, I move to approve the emergency management's request for a new account line 20011, other supplies, and Fund 4938-0000, Emergency Management Duke Grant, and to simultaneously approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $4,000 in the supplies category.
Second.
Okay. Counselor Munson, anything to add on this? Pretty
This
straightforward.
is very important and timely to talk about tonight because the grant is from Duke Energy for purchase of weather radios for residents who live in areas that are a higher risk when severe weather hits. And we just know that happened.
Yeah. Talk about a persuasive argument for it. Counselor Iverson.
I will point out at this very moment, the Herald Times is reporting that emergency management's power is out and their generators are not working. These radios are probably being used, or radios like these are being used right now.
And this became evident during the solar eclipse when there was a lot of traffic on other radio. We need we need backup type communications. So,
Yeah.
wow.
One last thing.
Generator's not working.
Yeah.
It's according to the Herald Times right now. Boris Ladwig wrote up a report.
One thing I'll note on emergency management, their function goes into action at the weirdest, most obscure, difficult times, and that's literally what the agency does. And so I'm always happy to see these things come in here so that we can support that. All right, let's go to any other comments from counselors? Let's go to comments from the public. If you have any, come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, that takes us to item C.
Council, I move to approve emergency management's request for new account lines 13701, Deputy Director, and 15115, Director, and Fund 8188-9623, EMPG salary, and to simultaneously approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $55,000 in the personnel category.
Second.
So this grant will cover 50% of the EMS department staff salary, and that's wonderful.
Yeah. Awesome. We appreciate that partnership with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. Any other comments or questions? Again, the grants, as Councilor Wilt said, the grants we pull in, our dollars the taxpayers here can devote to other things. All right. Any comments from the public? If you have any, come forward to the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay. And just a final note on that, we again thankful for all of our emergency management responders and first responders out there and highway workers. That takes us to item 15 on the agenda, and this is the update on long-term finance committee meeting regarding jail funding options. I'm not sure that I have as much as what this heading appears to add here on the committee.
I know.
When I read that, I was expecting something spectacular. I'll make a couple comments. We received tremendous information from FSG. I know there was a comment tonight that some of the information was erroneous. I later heard from our bench, from our auditor, who is tasked with making sure information's accurate, that it was actually accurate. And so we appreciate that. I don't know if you want to make any comments about that or add to that.
Yeah, the information provided by FSG is accurate. The overall complete lit rate is the 2.035% that the public commenter mentioned. However, toward the max rate, it was the correct number that FSG gave. There are a couple lits that are outside of that max rate, special purpose and property tax relief. So the information provided was all accurate.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate your diligence on that. I just want to just say that, I'm looking at one of the FSG reports that we received. I do want to make sure that's publicly available. I think we've got it out there. Ms. Shell, if the public wants to read every ounce of that, where would they find it?
The information can be found from that lit meeting by going to the event calendar, and you can click on the agenda packet, and everything is in there.
Yeah.
One thing we might do is add that along with maybe this additional information we received on the bed capacity. We might add that onto our homepage as well, if that's possible.
Okay.
It's pretty important
That'd be
and
nice.
timely. But the meeting was June 21st
It was.
at 10 a.m.
Mhm.
in case someone wanted to look it up
Yes.
right now.
And the thing that I just want to kind of, in talking about this in this heading here, and then we're going to try to get everybody out of here and home so they can deal with whatever they need to deal with, is that we do have financial options available to us as a county. We also have different parameters that have been offered to us on bed counts, justice centers, percent compositions, and all those things. And one of the things that I think we heard counselors say today, Counselor Munson said it very well, and some others have added to that chorus, is that we need to begin to map options for funding with options for action and figure out where we're ending up. And there's several different elected officials that will have a role in some of those preferences. And we want to honor those wishes as best as possible while figuring out the funding. And that's all one big giant mud ball. And that's this council's mission, I think, if I've got it right, is to take this and try to clean that mud up, make some sense, and get this project where it theoretically needs to go to for that action. We've had great work on this council with our committee, JFAC committee, that has spent hours on this. Councilor Iverson is a trumpet for that effort and always comes back and reminds us of things. Councilor Crossley, Councilor Wiltz, and their leadership and being very deliberate in making sure that we're doing what we need to do. We need to honor that work, and we need to honor the need and figure all this out. And so I guess the charge to the council that I might offer to you, friends, and then I'll let you comment here if you want to, is that we start to take the FSG dollars, the information we've received, figure out any additional questions that we have, and then we start building into some sort of actionable timeline that sorts out these different options. And there are multitudes here. Okay. I'm going to be quiet because I've talked too much. Anything to add to that, counselors? Counselor Crossley.
Just real quick, I just wanted to say thank you to Counselor Decker for opening it up for the rest of us to be able to attend. And if a member of the public is wanting to watch it, I certainly, attended virtually. However, you can also go back on Teams and click the link and watch it. I did last night just to kind of go over, and I took copious notes again from what I thought I learned the first time. And some of that was clarified for me again when I watched it again. And we'll probably watch it again because this is a very big duty and a big task that we have at hand. So I just appreciate you wanting or opening that up. But again, anybody can go back and click the link on Teams, the link that is provided there, and pay attention to that and rewatch that as well.
Absolutely. Other comments or questions? All right. We've maybe discussed it a bit much, but it deserves that. So thank you so much. I think that then takes us out of that into any final council comments. Anyone want to say anything? We just want to go home.
Happy 4th of July.
Yeah, that's coming up.
And don't forget, the county fair is opening very soon.
Oh, we've got a hand raised.
Got a hand raised. It's Molly Turner King.
Oh, sorry.
She wants to say something.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to make council aware that tomorrow on the commissioner's agenda, we are revisiting the composition of the opioid advisor application review board. The proposal is going to be that the board is composed of 5 members. One member would be of the health department, 2 members appointed by the commissioners, and 2 members appointed by the council, with the caveat that one of the council appointees is an individual with lived experience. So I just wanted to put that on your radar because it's going to be talked about at the commissioners meeting tomorrow. I think that the new composition addresses some concerns that individuals had, and it also levels out the appointments between the commissioners and the council.
Thank you very much, Ms. Turner King. Councilor Iverson.
And just a huge thanks to Ms. Molly Turner King, who navigated a lot of those waters to bring this to fruition. So thank you so much for doing that. And that's going to mean we're going to be able to get some of these dollars out the door to organizations that are struggling with substance use disorder.
Absolutely. All right. Any other counselors wishing to make a comment? Councilor Wiltz.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Aww.
It's my mom's birthday.
Oh, you're
happy
And she's sitting alone in the dark eating a peanut butter sandwich. So I'm going to go visit her. But
you go visit Mom. Oh, that's happy birthday, Mom. Anyone else? Thanks all our CATS folks, TSD. They're sitting in heat up there. I went up to see them. It's warm. Thank you, all of you, for being here, and all of our staff. Everybody get home safe, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And be careful.